Yeah, I think there was definitely talks with them. They wanted us to keep the band together. They were fucking pissed. I'm pretty sure that they were pretty pissed.
Welcome, everyone, to This Was The Scene, the podcast that takes a look back at the late 90s, early 2000 punk scene. I am your host, Mike Doyle. Before we start, you can now find me on Amazon Podcasts or Amazon Music. If you listen to podcasts there, you can listen to this shit there now. I just had to click a button that I didn't realize was there, so you can do that. Great. Formed in early 95, Boxer was a Boston-based four-piece, fast on the rise in the indie scene. With aggressive, heartfelt lyrics, Boxer delivered the finest in East Coast punk rock. They managed to share the stage with acts such as Lagwagon, Weston, Lifetime, Screw 32, Good Riddance, Jimmy Eat World, and Bracket. Their debut and only album, The Hurt Process, was put out on Vagrant Records as the label's first release. The band broke up soon after that release, and Dave and Will went on to form the Lot 6. Thank you once again to Casey from Iodine Recordings for connecting us. Casey has come through so many times, and you're great. So I was able to reach out to Dave because of Casey and got him on the Skype, and this is what we talk about. Just wanting to be a pop punk band, passing on being the singer for Big D and the Kids Table, playing a show with Lifetime, being Vagrant's first band, Rama from Big Wheel, recording with Trevor Keith, how signing to Vagrant affected the crowd size, auditioning for Kid Dynamite, Chris going on to Dillinger Escape Plan, the guitarist going off to play with Jared Leto and Tom DeLonge, the Lot 6, getting a gun pulled on them, and a ton more. Check out Dave's latest band, Beat Awfuls. There's a link in the show notes, or you could just go to Bandcamp. That's the only place that he has the music on. Lastly, at the end of the interview, it sounds a little weird because when he does his plug, it doesn't really match the audio. It's because he changed his mind of the first one he did, so he just texted me a new one, so I plugged that in there, and so that's why it sounds different, but it still works. That's all I got to say, so feel free to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with anyone who would love some punk rock nostalgia. With that said, let's get started. I've been trying to find you for doing an interview for so long.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, because this podcast started 4 years ago, and it was just based in Jersey, and then I started branching out, and I was making a list of people, and I try to find bands that, like some bands I've talked to, they're still around, but I really like the ones that I remember from the late 90s where I got their CD or a friend had a CD, and then I'm like, what happened to that band?
Yeah.
People have been hitting me up about you guys because there's really not a lot out there. There's a Wikipedia, and you guys, actually I wrote a couple notes too, but you guys also show up on, you're on like the, let's see this, like Spin has a 25 artists for 25 years, a Vagrant.
Okay. Funny.
Yeah, there's like a write-up in punknews.org from back in, I don't fucking 1990, or I don't even know when this is from.
Yeah. Probably pretty old.
So there's not a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah, there's not a lot. Yeah, there's definitely not a lot of stuff out there about us.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and start. The way I structure it is I go back in time and talk about how you got in the scene and then go through how the band started, go through the history and how it ended. But
oh, cool.
But prior to that, like, why do you think there's not a lot of stuff out there about you guys?
Probably, I mean, it was a pretty short amount of time that we were together. It was kind of a blip on the radar, in the big scheme of things, probably. I would think that's probably why, too. Also, maybe the time, I don't know, we weren't like a super big band ever. So, I think that, too, maybe, there just wasn't a whole lot ever written about us, it was just.
Do you ever, do you ever do a little, I know sometimes I was in a band too, and like sometimes you'll like Google and be like, has anyone wrote anything about us? Like, have you ever done that since the band broke up and be like, has anyone tried to write something or?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's been a while, but I've looked and just been like, has anyone ever talked about? Does anyone remember that band? And like, there was a couple little things, but I was like, all right, cool.
Well, then this will be the thing then, because we're going to talk very in depth about this.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I was looking at like who you had talked to before. I was just like, oh, and it was like, I mean, feel like we were connected to so many people in that short amount of time. It was kind of funny. I'm just like, oh man, I remember a lot of the people on the list. So it's pretty cool.
Were there any producers or labels or bands that you guys kind of came across? And like I said, I'm gonna go back, but like kind of where we are now. Like, were there any of those people, like I said, of bands, labels, producers, people who wrote scenes that you came across back then that you're like, oh my god, like we bumped into them at some point during the career of Boxer?
Oh, I mean, so many. I mean, just looking at who you had talked to, and there's so many random ones too. But I mean, there was Ann Beretta, who that was like our first tour we ever did was with them. And I live in Richmond now, which is crazy. And they just played the other day. And I was like, oh my God, they're still a band. Like that was like 20 years ago. But yeah, even looking down, I mean, Rama from Big Wheel. There was like Ben from Dillinger, who like I knew from Chris, because Chris was Boxer's drummer, our first drummer. Even looking at the list, I was like, oh man, that's crazy. So it's fun to think about. I mean, I haven't thought about that stuff in so long, but it's cool.
Actually, when I talked to Rob from Anberetta, we were talking, and I just got back from a trip to Richmond a couple months ago, and because so I live in Raleigh, and my little sister lives in DC, and we found like a little middle point, but we were in the Fan district, the Fan.
Yeah, the Fan.
Do you live like around there, or do you live more like outskirts?
No, I live on more like the east side of town. So, but I mean, not far. I mean, I'm like a 15-minute drive from the Fan, but it's a pretty small city.
This is a total random question, but James from Fun Size and River City High, he's a bartender in downtown at this like Irish pub. Do you know what I'm talking? Do you know who he is?
I don't. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard of that band, but I don't know him.
Cool, man. So let's go back to the very beginning and talk about what got you involved in the scene.
Man, I just, I grew up, let's see, I would say my like probably summer going, this dude, Andy, moved from New Jersey across the street from me in this, in the suburbs of Boston in Rentham. And he was like the first dude who like showed me like skateboarding. He Fugazi, Dinosaur Jr., like Minor Threat, all that stuff. Like he had those tapes. And so he was like definitely the spark that got me into like punk and hardcore and stuff like that for sure.
What was like it about those bands or those songs that really just caught your attention?
I don't know, I was already like, my sister was into like The Cure and the Violent Femmes, and so I'd already kind of like found out about those bands from her, and I really liked it. And I just like leaned towards alternative stuff, and I think, I always wanted to skateboard. I mean, I had like a little banana board like in the 80s and stuff, and like, yeah, it was just seemed more real, like a thing you can actually just like do, and I was old enough then. It was like, at that time, I mean, we were like, in 14, 13, but we were still like taking the train into Boston, like on the weekends, and just, I don't know, it was like, you could do shit like that then. Definitely drawn to that.
Did you go to, because I know Boston had a mix of, they had the Middle East, and then I don't know if Merrimack College was doing shows in the early 90s.
I mean, there were shows everywhere. I mean, there was, for me, like at that time, when like in high school and stuff, there was a lot of like local shows, and I grew up around like Foxborough, Rentham, North Attleboro, like that kind of like kind of in between Providence and Boston. So we'd also go to a lot of shows in Providence. We'd go to a lot of shows in Boston, and like everywhere in between. And it was like, before we were old enough to get in clubs, it was like, VFW halls and whatever, all ages shows. There was definitely Middle East had the Sundays all ages shows. I mean, Boxer definitely came up in that stuff. But before that, I was in like a couple shitty like punk bands where you covered like Operation Ivory and Minor Threat. And then I was in like a pretty bad hardcore band where in the hardcore straight edge days there for a hot minute. And then it was like, all right, we want to start a pop punk band. Kind of how it went, I guess.
What was the hardcore band you were in?
We were called 0 Hour. It was really bad. Yeah, probably like then like my favorite bands were like Strife and Snapcase and stuff like that. Like, and then, other Boston hardcore bands and stuff like that. But yeah, and then that slowly evolved into, I don't know, as it goes, it's like, Fat Records stuff. We got into all that kind of like the faster punk stuff, and then just kind of how you get into that. And then eventually I was like, enough of that, and then got into whatever comes next. But
what like pieces do you think you pulled from those two bands that you brought into Boxer? And then later on that carried you to Lot 6. But like there's always something you take from a previous band, like even if it's a little thing of, oh, let's not do that, or oh, I like that. Like, do you remember anything from those that you carried with you?
I mean, I definitely remember like when it was like the end of our hardcore band, and before we started Boxer, me and Will being like, it was like we wanted to start a pop punk band. That was like we were done with hardcore stuff, and we were done with like it was almost like those bands had to end, and even Boxers had to end for like they couldn't like evolve as we grew or whatever. Yeah, I definitely just remember like wanting to get away from hardcore, wanting to get away from like I think straight edge stuff, and just really loving like no effects and I don't know, kind of, and also like Lifetime, you know, when they got fast, that was probably the biggest influence on us for sure. Like I probably just wanted to sound like them as much as possible, you know. But then also, just you know, Descendants and stuff was thrown in, you know, all that kind of stuff too. So
So it was basically just because there was bands you liked that you wanted to sound like that you wanted to get away from the hardcore thing, or was there something
well,
else?
yeah, and I feel like probably there was band members like where it was like me and Will were like we wanted to do this, and the other guys in the band were like, well, we don't, and we were like, all right, bye. And so we found people more like-minded to do what you end up what you want to do.
You mentioned being my cousin. She lives in Attleboro, and my family is from Lynn, so I was talking about Massachusetts all the
Okay.
time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Lynn.
I loved I love Massachusetts. Like my sister lives in Plymouth now. She used to live in Bridgewater, so like, in my old band we used to play up in Mass all the time, and I loved it up there. But I remember we played in Providence. We played twice. Like one time was the Ataris in some weird club, but there was another place with smacking Isaiah, who's now a Wilhelm Scream, and we played with them and Lawrence Arms at this place called the Brown or something in
The
Providence,
Brown. Well, there was like, the Brown. I
or
don't know.
Brown something,
I'm trying to think because there was like the big club there was the Living Room, which would do all ages shows a lot, and there was like a ton of hardcore and punk shows there. And then the more like adult club, but they still had hardcore show. It was Club Babyhead. But then Brown University had like a thing, so that might have been what
oh
you're talking
wait,
about.
I might be thinking that it's fucking Brown University, and I'm calling
Yeah, but
it
they
the
had a thing. There
Brown.
was shows there. Like I remember seeing shows there sometimes. They had like yeah,
It was a bar. It
yeah,
was
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Okay, I think that was it. It was in Brown University. Okay, I sound like a fucking idiot, but I'll leave that part. Sound like a moron. So like
That's great.
I read in the Spin article because they interviewed Dave McWayne from Big D, and he wrote he was like Big D wanted you to sing for them, and you decided to go on Boxer, and then he goes, so I ended up getting the gig with Big D. He's like, so thank you, Boxer, for for me getting the gig.
That's crazy. That is true.
So like, why did you? I mean, I mean, I'm guessing the answer is because you want to do punk. But when they asked you that, were you kind of debating whether or not to do it?
I think that yeah, I think I was always kind of like when stuff like that would come up, it'd be like, "Hey, Dave, would you want to like sing or try this thing?" I probably would be seriously consider it, you know, and maybe at the time I was. But maybe I'm trying to think. I think Boxer we had already like either like we were started or it was already an idea, but it was like maybe I could, you know, they were like, "Well, try this out." And I don't think I even ever ended up trying to jam with them or anything. But yeah, I mean, we all became buds. I mean, all those dudes were like, because of like Berkeley, you know, basically, there was just everyone, you know, a lot of the, you know, everyone kind of met through that. I mean, I didn't go to Berkeley or anything, but Jeremy, who played guitar and Boxer, and Chris Penny, who played drums, they like went to Berkeley. They met at Berkeley. And like, so all of those kids, we've all, you know, that's when we all met. I mean, a lot of them I'm still like friends with and stuff. So it's crazy. But yeah.
How did Boxer form?
So Will, who plays bass, me and him, we were in our very first band together, which was called Argyle, which was like our like kind of like, you know, Operation Ivy minor threat phase kind of stuff. And then he went to private school. He went to Xaverian, which I think is in Norwood or Westwood or something. That's where he met Jeremy. And I didn't know Jeremy, but eventually he had joined the hardcore band for a hot minute at the very end. He had come in, and then me and him were like, dude, fuck these guys. Let's do our pop punk thing. And he was like, I know Jeremy. This dude's perfect. So we got together with Jeremy, and that's how. And then there was another. I think we went through a couple drummers. I was actually trying to think about it because I was like, there was a couple random drummers, and we might have even played a couple shows before Jeremy met Chris at Berkeley, you know, and it was definitely like one of those things where you see another kid wearing like a punk or a hardcore or something, you know, shirt or something like that, and you're like, wait, what do you play? Oh, cool, drum. You want to try? You know, it's like that kind of thing. So
Wait, so
that's
you
kind of
just
like,
happen to you randomly bump into Chris Penny, who's like one of the best fucking drummers.
yeah,
You're
no
like,
idea who this kid is. I mean, and
Jesus.
Jeremy, I don't know if he was in a class with him or I think he just kind of like they realized maybe they liked some of the same music. That's how he became the drummer for a
Jesus
while.
Christ. Do you
I know.
remember? So, like the first practice, because you guys had already cut your teeth in a couple bands, and then these guys are going to Berkeley. So, what was that like?
I mean, it was awesome because it was such a step up. I mean, just musicianship and songwriting. And, you know, I'm just like self taught. I don't know anything. So I'm just like trying to be like, you know, kind of be a singer as much as I can. I'm not very good at it, but like learning a ton. And it was cool because, when I think of Chris, I think of he was constantly practicing, constantly like he would have like a thing strapped to his knee. He was like, I remember him at a hotel, like sitting backwards on the toilet with his like pad up on the back of the toilet. And he's like doing, you know, Afro Cuban like rhythms or something. And I'm like, holy shit. But
Jesus.
so, yeah, it was awesome. I don't know. It just like I felt like a real band, you know, finally after doing it I was like, oh shit, this is like awesome. Like we can do whatever.
You're the singer and you play guitar. So, like,
Well, no, not in the band. I just sang. I only sang.
okay, you play guitar then in Lot Six then and
Well,
sang,
a little
right?
bit. Not even that.
Oh,
Not even until after Lot 6. I mean, barely. Yeah. I'm like just singer. Yeah.
so you were a freestanding singer and you got bass and guitar and drums right behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And was that the same way? I mean, I'm obviously that was the same way in the previous two bands then.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. Yep.
So like why I don't know, why did you choose the singing position?
I don't know. I think I just wanted to be in a band like when I was you know, really young forever. I just always was like, I'm gonna be in a band. And I don't know. I never when it was time to like do that, it was like I didn't play any instruments. So it was like, all right, well, I'll be the singer, I guess. And then that just morphed into everything else.
Was there a certain band that you saw like a front man or front person and thought I am gonna just either rip them off or I want to be fucking that person?
Probably Ari from Lifetime. I mean, probably anyone. Yeah, like something like that. Like definitely. Like I was just like, so that was like so cool to me. I was like, that's really cool. Or like, you know, I really Fugazi. I always loved. I mean, I know there's not just a singer, but like Ian or Yi or something. They're just so cool. I don't know. I'm not sure, but yeah, definitely. I don't know. There's probably a couple in there. Maybe Milo from the Descendants or something. That was like big.
Like so when you guys start playing boxer and you're in the first practice, you're kind of feeling like shit, we got something here.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I just, you know, Jeremy and Will were starting to really, I mean, they were writing cool stuff that I felt like together it was like we were all learning kind of how to do it maybe, and it was all gelling and it felt good. And everyone was like really getting really good at their instruments at this point after being like younger and playing, and now it's like whatever, you know, like 19, 8, you know, you're starting to like get pretty good. And
What was your like stage presence like when you guys went up and started playing your first couple shows?
I don't know. We probably tried to like while out and go crazy and stuff. I mean, we're probably real dorky. I mean, we still are, but like, yeah, I don't know. I imagine us trying to be real cool, but probably just being big dorks.
Did you kind of have like a vision for what you wanted the band to do when you started it, or you're like, fuck it, I just want to play music?
I mean, honestly, yeah, I think we just wanted to play music. I know we wanted to like make a record. I know we wanted to record. I think, you know, and I think soon after that we wanted, you know, after playing shows, it felt like wanting to tour. It felt like something I know everyone wanted to do too.
Where was your first show? Do you remember?
Man, our first show I think was at this place in Somerville, which I lived at, you know, later on, but I couldn't even remember what part it was in or anything. But I think it was called Club 3. And I think it was in Somerville, but you know, I can't remember like who else played or anything. We played a lot of like kind of random shows for a while until like, you know, I mean until maybe you start getting on. I remember really wanting to, like, getting a show at the Middle East was like a huge thing. I remember I was like dropping off our tape and like trying, bugging them. Eventually I ended up like working there and being like, I mean, I consider that place like a home, and it became like amazing part of my life. But like, yeah, I remember really wanting to like get on a show there, and then that finally happening. I mean, we got to like open up for Lifetime there. I think it was like we got to play downstairs. Yeah, like played with them. Stuff like that would happen, and it was like, I'm like, cool. Anything after this is just like bonus. So
That's fucking awesome. Wait, was that when they were touring on Hello Bastards or Jersey's Best Dancers?
Oh, it might have been. It might have been right around Hello Bastards, actually. Yeah, it might have been like that. Might have been the first show after that record came out that they played in Boston. I just remember it was so. I remember like they probably opened up with the first song on the record, and I remember so many flashes, like camera flashes going off, and it was just like it gives me chills actually kind of thinking about it. But I'm sure I was like up on the side of the stage, like hiding behind a speaker, trying to be like just being like, holy shit.
Well, that's also when the crowd really didn't like really know them though. I mean, that was the thing with Lifetime, is that they stopped because they were just like, what the fuck? Like no one's really giving us any attention.
I mean, in Boston there would be like, I don't know, there was definitely a couple hundred kids at the show, at least, like maybe more than that. I don't know. It felt like a lot of people were there, but I mean, maybe not. Maybe that's not big in terms of, I guess.
Well, the Middle East is pretty huge. Like, what's the Middle East fit? Like 400?
I mean, downstairs is like 500, and upstairs is like 200, I think, or was. I don't know, but yeah, and that was downstairs. So, and I remember it being pretty packed, but who knows? I mean, maybe, I don't know. It was so long ago. Maybe in my mind, I'm like there was like 50,000 people there, But
Were you like, how long did it take you to get comfortable in like singing, like being a frontman for Boxer?
Oh, I don't even know if I ever did, actually. I don't know. I think it was until after Boxer that, I mean, even then, I was singing like, I think I was really trying to sing. I hadn't really found my own voice. I mean, maybe a little bit, but I really wasn't sure. I was just kind of imitating, through that whole band. I was just trying to kind of, best way to say it was, it's just, you're like learning what to do. And so you're just, I don't know, you're trying to do what you love and what you think is cool. And you haven't really totally found like your own voice and how you actually are going to end up singing. But
that's so funny, because I feel like you have a very distinct voice. Like when I heard the CD, I was like, wow, this guy's voice definitely, I liked it. I mean, I was really listening to it again on Spotify. And as soon as I hit the first song, I was like, "Oh my god, I totally remember these fucking songs."
Yeah, and maybe, yeah. I mean, I think that definitely did. I think that's why people kept asking me to like sing in their bands too. It was like I just have a weird, like interesting voice, or not weird, but yeah, different, interesting voice. And as much as I was like maybe trying to like sing, thought in my mind I was like singing like Ari or whoever, but it's still probably coming out like me. That's cool.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's funny because talking to you, because when I was expecting, I don't know, like kind of when you sing, it comes off like aggressive, I guess. It's like so straightforward, and you're so laid back. When we started talking, I was like, this is so opposite of what I was expecting when I heard you start talking.
Well, I mean, especially then. I mean, it was aggressive. Yeah, all the singing was aggressive. And even in like Lot 6 stuff, I mean, a lot of that was aggressive, but it wasn't until that band that I actually felt like I was like trying to sing a little bit more. I guess it's all part of it. But yeah, that would be weird if I talked really aggressively.
You're like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, wow, that's what I was expecting. Did you take any voice lessons at all? Like, because Chris is off going to, they got two guys from Berkeley. Chris is like fucking just playing whatever the fuck all the time, and you're kind of like, I really got to show up more maybe to match these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I you know what? I probably should have taken some voice lessons, but I didn't. Like my duties were like like lyrics mostly, so maybe some people, maybe I'd get an idea here or there, but like, and then yeah, I mean, I maybe got a book maybe once about it. I don't know. I just kind of learned along the way, I guess.
So you wrote the lyrics to all the songs then, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was your main theme when you would write a song?
Oh, like, but definitely girls, relationship stuff, whatever. Yeah, that was, I mean, I would say Jeremy did help a little bit with some lyrics here and there, I think, and probably Will probably did too. Maybe, maybe they would give me a line or two. We definitely would collaborate. I say I probably wrote the majority of them. And then definitely like, yeah, relationship stuff or like fuck the world shit, like, or whatever. Probably those were like the two main themes.
Were you guys political at all?
I think maybe not as much lyrically. I feel like I tried to do that. I think in past bands and was never good. I was never good at it, or didn't figure out how to like do it in a way that didn't sound. I don't know, but yeah, no, I think like maybe in some of our actions we were. I definitely felt like, I mean, but like I was saying, Fugazi was definitely a huge influence politically for me. I mean, still, like, I love how that band's operated, and I'm like, why don't more people like and labels operate like that? I don't know if I don't know if people ever probably didn't look at us like that.
I think there's two. Well, there's one reason why I asked that, but you said something and it popped up another thing. So there's a point I want to make before I ask the question I was going to ask you, where you're right. If you're a band that's very heavily into politics and you're smart about it, I feel like there's a few bands that can really pull off the songs that are about politics, where you're like, the song is great and the message is there like really well. If you have good songs but your lyrics are shit about politics, like you cannot pull that shit off. Like you should stay
Yeah,
fucking far away from that.
yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad.
I guess like the question about politics came about because you were like fuck the world. So I was like, was it fuck the world because I just keep getting dumped, or fuck the world because the world is shitty and politically?
Yeah, probably 50-50, I would say.
How long were you a band before you recorded? Okay, no, let's say what's the timeline here? Is it between your first tour, recording the Her process, and getting signed to Vagrant? So before you like go into depth on them, like how do they go in order?
It goes signed to Vagrant, recorded the Her process, then toured.
Okay, so then
Yeah.
all right, let's start with Vagrant. So how do you guys, and you're Vagrant number one, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, we were the first band they signed. I mean, they put out, I think, well, no, maybe they did like some face-to-face stuff or something, maybe. I don't know, but we were like the first band they actually signed. So, yeah.
I don't think they did.
But maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe they weren't. Maybe that stuff all came after, actually.
Yeah, because that's like the one thing I've always heard is that you guys were Vagrant number one. So like you hold that spot.
Yeah, we do.
So how did that happen?
Well, honestly, so I was trying to think about this. Let's see, we moved to Boston. We moved to Mission Hill like in 1996 or something, maybe 97. So we moved there. And I remember we got a 4-bedroom and it was $1,000, and we all paid $250 each. And I don't know, Chris never really moved in. I think he was going to move in, but then he didn't. I know, like, I think he was definitely back in New Jersey. So when we moved there, like, little did we know, like, Rama lived down the street. Rama and like the In My Eyes guys, and then they became like the Explosion dudes, and like it was, and then on the others, because it was all like that neighborhood was really close to Mass Art and Museum School. So there's all these artists, it was like cheap rent. It's kind of a scary neighborhood. So we moved there, and that's kind of how like I met Rama and stuff. And I remember like I would go and like I helped him like stuff 7-inches and stuff. And I probably was like trying to get Boxer on the label or something, but we became friends. And I remember he put us on, they did some comp. I think it was called They Came from Massachusetts or something. Pretty sure that was the name of it. And it was all Massachusetts bands that Big Will put out. So he put that out. And then I remember, I think this was Rama too. He had a friend that wrote for Punk Planet and was like, hey, there's like a 20 questions thing. Would you guys want to do it? And we were like, yeah, of course. Like, fuck yeah. I love Punk Planet. Was like my favorite thing ever. And so I was like, shit, okay, cool. So we got like an interview in Punk Planet. And then I remember too, Rama, like, I don't know, whatever, it came out. And Rama was like, hey, there's some label in California, Vagrant Records. Like, they saw that. They want to talk to you guys. And we were like, wait, what? We were like, wait, that's like Face. Is that the guy from Face to Face? Is that his label? We thought it was his label. And yeah, so that's how all that happened. I'm pretty sure like that was a lot of because just like moving into like that same street we all lived on and just meeting Rama and meeting other people, and then just kind of like Vagrant came calling. I don't know how we talked to them, but we ended up like talking on the phone. They were like, we want to sign the band, and what you guys want to drive out here to California? Like, we'll pay for you to get out here, and you can stay out here, and I guess we made plans to make the record out there because I'm trying to think. I don't know how long it was. This was probably now like it probably all happened pretty quick, I think. Next thing I know Chris had a van and we got in the van and drove out to Santa Monica, and we they had offices, they had like little offices, and we slept in one of the rooms in the office, like in this little office complex thing. But it was in Santa Monica. I mean, it was kind of close to the beach, so it wasn't like, and we were like fucking, teenagers, so we're just like stoked.
Vagrant just starts to be a record label. They already have an office before their first release is out.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because I'm trying to think. I feel like they did some, like, I don't know if maybe it wasn't under the Vagrant label like name, but I feel like they made a couple records, maybe like a Face to Face Live thing, or maybe that was after. I don't know, but I mean, they weren't like crazy offices. I'm talking there was like a little office, probably like a little room with most of like all of them were like probably in one room. There might have been one other room with like shelves with like some crap on it, and like we were in some other extra room where we just like set up our sleeping bags, and like it was like an extra like storage room kind of thing.
I mean, it sounds like a small incidental thing, and I'm just taking a guess here, but I've talked to a good amount of labels, and a lot of them would just be in their house or their parents' basement or a basement of somewhere, a garage. And these guys started off, it almost seems because Vagrant became so fucking huge. I kind of feel like if you're starting off like that and saying like we're gonna have an office before our first release, I think there's a mindset
Yeah,
there,
that is.
you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you're
for
getting on
sure.
board with people that are like, we're fucking doing this. So in that theory I have, did you feel that when you met them?
Feel what?
Like feel like you were signing to a concrete label?
Um, yeah, I mean, we were just like, yeah, like I don't know. We didn't know. We didn't know a whole hell of a lot. I mean, about any of that stuff, but we were like, okay, well, this guy, he was like, he is Rich Egan's like Face to Face's manager, and he manages some other bands, and they're like, so there was like that connection. We love Face to Face, and he was like, Trevor's wants to produce the record, so we were like, oh, that's sick, and like they're giving us enough money to like drive out to, they didn't buy us a van or anything, but like, we still had to like figure out some shit. I think Chris's family might have helped help him get a van so we could get out there kind of a thing. But like, it wasn't like, oh, we're living in hotels and like, I mean, the other guy, John, he brought us over to his apartment like once or twice. I can't remember. We were there for a couple of weeks. I mean, probably 2 or 3 weeks, and he would bring us over to his apartment so we could like shower once in a while. But we were like in the studio every day. I remember like we went there, we did like pre-production where we had like a rehearsal space, and Trevor came, and I mean, it felt pretty, I was like, oh shit, we're kind of in the big time, like, I mean, not really, but like, I'm like pre-production, like he's going over the lyrics with me, we're kind of like working on arrangements, and I'm like, all right, this feels fucking real, as real as I know. I mean, we'd been in studios before, but not like with a producer. I just remember being in the studio like early in the morning till late at night, and every single day until we had the record. And then we probably drove home. I think we played like a couple of shows on the way home that they got us. And it wasn't until after so the other guy it was Rich and John, and then they had another assistant. I can't remember her name. She was awesome. And then another dude, Kevin, who ended up, I like still talk to him, and he ended up being like a big music guy in my life. But I think he was helping us a lot, like booking shows and stuff. He might have even been the one to be like, hey, I read this article on Punk Planet, y'all should look at this band, like maybe we should sign them, kind of thing, because he was like the young guy who like knew shit. He managed like the Hippos, I think was their name. They're like a ska band, like yeah. And that was like one of the first things he did. And then after that, that's when I think we got on the tour with Amberetta, and like there was some shows with the Get Up Kids too. But that, I mean, these were like basement shows or like VFW show. I mean, there was maybe like 50 kids at the show maybe or something, which was absolutely, fucking
Awesome.
insane
Yeah.
to us,
Yeah, that was like the best. Like 50 people here. Holy shit.
Oh my God. Yeah. That was like, holy shit. But yeah, it was super fun though.
So to rewind it though, because I really want to dig into the whole like
sorry,
working
totally.
with. No, it's totally fine. I mean, there's a lot of really good stuff there. I guess one thing that popped in my head is that you guys come from being in other bands or being in school, just knowing how to play music, and then you get signed. So you go out, and then all of a sudden you're in this nice studio. Fucking Trevor from fucking Face to Face is gonna produce you, and then you're in a practice. So was there like one part when you stepped in the beginning where you kind of just questioned yourself, like, holy shit, like, were you confident that you were gonna bring it, or were you kind of nervous that you weren't gonna show up with what they wanted?
I think that I feel like we were pretty confident then. I don't know. I feel like we were, and I feel like they were really supportive too. I feel like we were like, dude, we're like kind of coming up. I felt like we were, because I think we had written a bunch of songs before that record. I think, maybe maybe a record's worth of songs, maybe not. I felt like, I think at that time, I think we were pretty confident. And then I think that those guys were really supportive, and like Trevor was really supportive, and they were just like pumped on us. So that even made it more like we were like, dude, this is awesome.
Were there any snags in the studio where you guys had I don't know, like something took a little bit longer and you were like, fuck?
Yeah, I remember actually the whole first day, I think we scrapped because like there was like I remember it was some drum sound stuff, and like Chris was pissed because the kick drum was sounding like a weird, like a West Coast like pop, like two like, and yeah, it did like a Snapple bottle kind of thing, and he wanted it to sound bit better. And I think we fought for that, and like we ended up scrapping the first day and like went back in the second day and like stood our ground, and then it was like somehow we got the point across, and then it was like just cool from there on out. That was the only thing I really remember, honestly.
So
Yeah.
when Trevor's looking over your lyrics, are you kind of sensitive to that, or are you open-minded to that?
I think probably, knowing me, I was probably really nervous and sensitive, but also, all right, well, I'm open to talk about it and like tell him, like, because this guy, I don't know, at that time, I'm trying to think, like, I probably was like, his lyrics are okay. I don't know. I don't know if I was like,
Who the
I
fuck is
don't
this
know.
guy?
Yeah, well, no, I'm not like, I think it was just cool that he was like, he liked what I was doing, and it was cool to hear someone be like, hey, you're writing some really good lyrics, man. Like, keep it up or whatever. It's like encouraging, even maybe if they even sucked, but like, it's good to hear that stuff.
When you were singing, because he's obviously there producing it, so I know what it's like to be in a booth and you're working with
Oof,
and like you're the
oof.
first like 5 minutes of starting the song, you're cracking and you're not hitting the note, and they're like, all right, let's go
Oh,
back again. Like,
yeah.
did you find how was that process? And also, were there certain things that he gave you kind of tips on that you
Oof.
carried with you after that?
Man, that's good. Oh man, I'm trying to remember because it's so long ago. But I mean,
I know it's
honestly,
so
I
hard. It's like
feel,
25 years ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, but I mean, I do remember it being really hard. Like, I probably didn't know a whole lot about like warming up or like, taking care of my voice that much. And I think I remember having a hard time. I remember kind of like really sweating it out and like getting frustrated. He's a really really good singer, and he sings like some high harmony stuff, I think, on like one of the, maybe the first track, maybe another one too.
Oh shit.
But and he's really fucking, yeah, if you listen to it, you can hear it's totally like, you're like, oh, the face to face dude. But yeah. And yeah, I probably like I think he just wanted me to be confident, and probably help me be a little bit more confident. And it was cool to watch him like do something like that. And I'm like, fuck, man, this guy's such a pro. He can just like sing. But I don't know. You're like, fuck, I can do that too. Just let me get there. And then you do. Yeah. I mean, when I think about that stuff, the feeling that I think of is like, oh shit, I was probably really frustrated, and it was probably pretty hard compared to like, you know, now like 20 years later when you've done a million vocals and it's not like that big a deal. But then, yeah, I remember I feel like I probably like, oh shit, I hope I don't fuck this up. And I mean, dude, some of that stuff isn't, I mean, some of it's pitchy and there's some like questionable melody choices, but that's cool though too. I mean, there's some really crazy, like cool ones too that I'm like, I have no idea how that even happened.
I actually don't even know why I didn't lead with this when you talked about Trevor Keith. Did you own any Face to Face records up to that point?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, we saw them. We probably saw them play like every time they came through town.
They had the best fucking live. Like to this day, I think I saw them. I think like 10 years ago or so, and in like Irving Plaza in New York City, and the place still it was like the same vibe, the same crowd vibe that I remembered from fucking 1998 or 99.
Yeah, that shit was fun. They were super fun. Like that was crazy. I loved going to their shows. And yeah, definitely. So that, yeah, it was crazy to meet them. Yeah, that was huge right there. It was just like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's fucking Don't Turn Away. This guy, the guy who wrote that song,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
fucking
that
album.
guy, yeah. Yeah. It's really nuts.
So you guys get back to Boston, and then finally the record gets pressed and released. Now, how long was that between the studio recording and then having
I
that?
don't even know. Probably not that long. Like I feel like, well, maybe like 6 months, probably. Maybe more. Maybe a little more. I don't know. Somewhere around there.
It says it's confirmed by Wikipedia that you guys are the first band signed to them, and it said your record came out May 5th, 1998.
Oh,
So
okay,
so
yeah.
that can kind of give you an idea if you remember when you went into the studio.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think, man. I feel I'm shit. I would have to. I don't even know how I'd have to look back. Maybe I have some old journals actually. Probably. Maybe the studio was like a year before then. I'm trying to think. I know there was an El Nino going on in LA. It was like weirdly rainy, and I'm trying to think. I don't know. I feel like we left and it wasn't cold, so maybe it was like springtime. Maybe it was like that would make sense if it was like a year before, like if it was like 97 or something like that, because that would all kind of line up if it was, yeah, because we were kind of in and out of the studio. We got it mastered pretty quick. I mean, all that probably happened in like a month possibly, you know. And I know they just made CDs and they probably wanted like some lead time on some promotion stuff. I remember doing weird promotion stuff, but yeah.
So I guess the really why I was asking that question is when you guys are done recording and then the CD, are you playing shows and then the word gets out that you signed to this label? Where this, I guess this was later on when it was the Get Up Kids and Saves the Day when they signed to Vagrant. It was this giant thing.
Yeah, we were already off, but we were already done by then.
But like that's what I'm saying. Like that's when Vagrant was Vagrant. So with you guys coming on, it's like Vagrant, and everyone's like, "Who the fuck is this?" You know. So it's a different impact.
Yeah, no one knew. We were like, they kind of were like, I mean, there was like, Epitaph and Fat Records, and Vagrant was like way, 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 way lower. But I think they kind of got put into that kind of like, oh, they're another like West Coast pop punk label. But they did have some money to spend and some, they definitely put lots of ads out there and stuff like that. And
well, I guess the question's more around the impact when you're on a label. It elevates your band with crowds or what's the word? With the eyes that are on you. They're like, oh shit, they're on that label, and then more people come out to see you because they're like, what's this all about? But that you guys, having Vagrant, unless people are like, oh, it's the manager from Face to Face's label, like that's going to give it a little bit of buzz, So did you catch that there was a little bit of buzz of you guys signing to Vagrant before the record came out and more people were coming to shows?
I mean, not really. Maybe a little bit in Boston, like maybe a little bit. I think maybe some people in Boston, but still, I mean, that it wasn't a big label yet. But no, it didn't really affect shows a whole lot, maybe a little bit, but yeah, not like crazy or anything.
There was a Boston show that you guys played, and this is before the record comes out. So that's in '97, it says in this article I found online. Do you remember the show?
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was probably the hometown. Well, they did that hometown throwdown thing. And I'm pretty sure we got put on one of those nights, which was fucking awesome. I remember it was crazy. It was huge because I always loved, I mean, Boston's were huge when I was a kid, and like Dickie Barrett. I remember like he was smoking a cigarette before he went on backstage. It was hilarious. It was
Really?
awesome. But yeah, I remember like, I don't know, him like giving me a pep talk. Like he's like, yeah, you're doing good, kid. He's like, puts a cigarette out, like goes on stage and just fucking kills it. But yeah, it was awesome.
Because the person who The article that I read this in, it's just a snippet. It was like someone quoted a friend, oh, it was on the Punk News article, that you guys blew the Bosstones off the stage. And granted, this is one
Oh
person's
my
viewpoint,
God.
but it's in Punk News, and it's this whole write-up about the Hurt process, and they say this, and I was like, that's pretty baller to see. If I was in this band and saw that, I'd been like, fuck yeah.
Shit, I didn't even know that. I mean, that's cool that someone thought that. I love that. I mean, we probably were kicking ass at that point. I mean, I think there was a while where we were playing a lot. We got to be a pretty good band for a while.
Well, I guess that was kind of my point with that one is like how confident were you guys on stage when that show happened, I guess.
Maybe like something like that is like such a confidence builder because you like a show like that. I don't know. There's like a lot of love. I feel like, and it's already packed, and people are just like stoked to see a live band. I don't know. Everything's on your side. Like it's like so to your advantage. Like a show like that. Yeah, that's like the fun. That's like really fun when I think about that stuff.
I mean that's like when you get in front of a crowd like that, the more and more you play, when you go the bigger the crowds, it kind of like it's almost like lifting more weight, I guess. It's like you're kind of stressing the muscle out, so when you go back to the smaller weight, it's more manageable, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you go back to the smaller crowds, you're like, well, we just handled a couple thousand people or however big that show was. Now we're going back to 50. Like we fucking got this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So then the CD comes out. What's with the cover art? Did you guys have any say in that, or did they just give it to you as
No,
a?
that what we picked that was the dude. He was kind of in the circle of like Rama and them too, where
Oh, was it Jeremy Weiss?
it wasn't Jeremy. He had a bunch of pictures that we had loved. And then okay, I think Brian Sheffield I think did the layout and then or I'm probably getting all this wrong, but I know that it was a photographer that he had done other record covers, and basically we had loved his stuff, and then he kind of like we got hooked up. I'm sure I feel like Rama was involved, maybe gave us the intro or something, and we got pictures from him and to pick from, and we were like, oh, this is sick, and we just kind of picked those.
It's funny that you know Jeremy. I actually interviewed him for this. He talks
Oh,
about,
cool.
yeah, so like a lot of people remember that guy. Like
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he's from the whole like in the whole Rama camp and all that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when Lot Six, we would go out there in LA and him and Claire, and we would like, they would have like barbecues at their house. And I mean, they're just like, yeah, they're sick.
Oh my God. I feel like I love that about certain interviews that I've done where people say names and then I'm in the other interview and then it's crisscrossing and I'm like, oh my God, this is when that person said this and you were there too at this timeline. It's like fucking wild.
Well, like I was saying, I was looking at, oh yeah, even like Dan Yemen, and I was like, oh shit, because not only because of Lifetime, but like, I mean, we can get there, but like, this is like during Boxer, but maybe the record had come out like I was tight buds with the Ink and Dagger dudes in Philly, like a friend of mine. We'd go down there all the time. Yeah, we had found out. My friend was like, "Yeah, they're looking for a singer. Like Dan's looking for a singer." So I got to like go. They gave me like a demo tape inside the Kid Dynamite like first four songs with no like vocals, and I went over to their apartment and they jammed, and I was like maybe gonna try out. Like I was trying out, I guess, but I didn't really sing anything. But I was just like, yeah, it was so many things. Maybe looking at the list of stuff people you talked to,
Whoa.
I was like, oh my God, I forgot about so many things that had happened.
Holy shit. So I mean, he talks about that too, that because I remember that was a big the word got
I
out
mean,
that he started this new band, and there was this demo tape that they were. And I talked to him about this too, and this was a couple years ago now, so I forget what he fucking says. But that's people they would audition people because of that demo.
yeah, like I went. I remember it was the drummer dude. He lived in like above a bar. I think it was on 6th Street, that strip in Philly. Like he lived, and we went there, and they played, and I was just like, and I'm already like a fanboy, and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I think I remember kind of having the decision of like, am I gonna like try and do this and like leave Boxer, and deciding like, no, I gotta stick with my friends. But like, I'd like gone down there, and somehow I'd gotten in. I remember Dan driving me back over to their house, and like he was playing. I remember he was listening to Wu-Tang, and I thought that was so great because I was like, yeah, of course, Dan from Lifetime, he's listening to Wu-Tang, he knows what's going on. This is sick. And yeah, and just was like, I always remember that moment, and him being super nice and me probably being really nervous. And yeah, and I was like, I completely forgot about that until I saw
Holy
his
shit.
name. It was crazy.
Wait, was he spitting any Wu-Tang lyrics when he was driving? Because that would have been amazing to watch that.
He might have. I feel like he was talking about them. Yeah.
Oh my
I feel
God.
like he was like talking about like what an important band they are or something.
I always feel like hilarious. Like Dan just starts being like, "Oh, hold on, it's the best part." Turns it up and just starts like
Yeah.
rapping with like fucking old dirty bastard.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, Method Man's part. This is my fucking favorite part."
So good. I know.
So when the record comes out, like what I don't know, what stood out as the hit from the record, or people, what was the song, or everyone's like, "Play this," it's like,
Oh, I don't know if there was one, honestly.
like there might not have been, but it's like you never know. There could have been like, "Oh, this song was this will get the crowd going more."
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm not really sure. I can't remember. I can't. Maybe if there was one, I can't remember.
You're like, they're all bangers.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm like, come on. No, I mean, shit. I don't know. I feel like I know what favorites I probably had, but I don't know like what people. But man, I should have gone back and listened to that record before we talked. Kind of like gone over it again because it's been so long.
So okay, so the record comes out, and then what starts happening to you guys when between that and then what year did you guys break up?
Oh man, we broke up like pretty soon. I'm trying to think. Probably 99, 99. Like I feel like before 2000. Yeah. Like somewhere like me in 1999. Like the record came out, wasn't out for very long. Like we toured. I remember so I'm trying to think. The record came out. It was funny because we got out to LA, like all four of us, and Chris is still in the band, and we're ready to sign. Like they're like, all right, time to sign the contracts. We didn't even have lawyers. Like I think Rich like went over the contract with us, which I probably have a copy somewhere. And I remember Chris was like, I can't. He's like, I'm not signing it. We were like, what are you talking about? He's like, I already signed to Relapse. And we were like, wait, what's happening? And I mean, it was all fine, but
Wait to Relapse is Dillinger?
yeah. Yeah, Dillinger had already like this was
Oh.
all happening all like right at the same time. Dillinger had like just formed. I mean, that was like they were Arcane. They changed their name. They became Sick. I remember Chris. Like I was at some like early Dillinger shows. I remember seeing them in a basement in New Jersey somewhere, and it was like pretty scary. I was like really scared, but I was like, dude, this band is so sick. You guys like, what is this name? Oh my god, you guys are crazy. But yeah, and he was like, I remember him kind of talking about it. Like I think Relapse is going to sign us, and this was all kind of. And I remember he didn't say anything until we got to California and was like, I already signed that. I can't sign two. Like, and we were like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But, I'm sure the Vagrant dudes were like, dude, what the fuck? But he was smart in not signing that because, Dillinger could have been on Vagrant. So, like, we came back and Chris was like, left the band pretty soon after that.
He wasn't in the band when the record came out?
Yeah, like when the record came out, he might have still been in the band, but really shortly after the record came out, it was like he had to make a choice. I mean, because I think the thing was, I was trying to think, like maybe he was supposed to move back because he was in Berkeley. Everyone dropped out, because everyone's bands were like doing shit. And I think the plan was, and I'm sure he probably was like telling us, I'm going to move to Boston, but he had stuff going down there in New Jersey. That's what he really wanted to do. I mean, it was just like he just happened to be in Boston, happened to be in Berkeley, and just we happened to get him for a moment in time to like play some amazing drums on that record. And then, yeah, but I'm trying to think like we didn't tour with him. I mean, after that, we got a new drummer.
Oh, I thought he was in the band because there's nothing online. The only thing that's out there besides those two articles is your Discogs that I can see. And I don't see a Wikipedia. No, I just see Vagrant has theirs, and there's nothing else. So who replaced him, and then how long? Who replaced him, and what happened after that?
So yeah, so Chris was out. We replaced him with this dude Nate, who was actually the Get Up Kids' first drummer. So like, yeah, we somehow, I guess Vagrant was already talking to them at this time. It's all kind of blurry, but they hadn't signed them yet, I don't think. But I mean, there was that reason, like, yeah, we ended up playing some shows together, and then we were looking for a drummer, and I guess they got word, and they were like, hey, Nate should try out. So Nate was in Lawrence, Kansas, and he came out to Boston and became our drummer for like the next. And then we probably toured we got a rhythm guitar player, this guy Matt. and then Nate was our drummer. And so we were a 5-piece at that point. And that's when we started. We probably toured for like 6 months or something. I know we went back out to the West Coast. I know we played shows with At the Drive-In when they were like, I mean, there's probably like 10 people there. I know we did like a run at like probably 2 or 3 shows with them, like in the Midwest. And they were so intense. I remember that that In Casino Out record had just come out, and they were so fucking good. Like, I mean, like playing in a record store with like 3 people there, and they're like jumping off the fucking PA speakers. And it was like, it was amazing. But yeah, we played some weird, we played with some other, like, they were the most memorable ones for sure. I'm like, we played with a bunch of other bands too. We do little runs with them and stuff. And then, yeah, it's slowly, I mean, me and Will, I think we all just got sick of each other, and me and him had already were like ready to start another band.
So it really was just the record's out and you guys do a little bit of touring. Chris is out of the band. Like, so when Chris left, did you kind of like that? There's sometimes a band sometimes a band can take a blow and either that's going to elevate them, they're going to see opportunity, or it's going to just start chipping away and it takes the wind out of your sails. So when Chris leaves, did it go in which direction did it go in for you?
Well, that was the thing. Like we were doing so great. It was like we couldn't stop yet. So, but I mean, his shoes could not be filled. And like Nate, no diss, but he just was not. He could not play the drums the way that Chris could. He definitely couldn't play anything like the record. And I think that's why we ended up getting a second guitar player, was to like kind of like cover that up, not cover it up, but just like we had to fill it out like somehow. We had to make it make sense as a band, and it didn't work like as like that 3-piece section anymore without Chris. So it was like, and I think for a minute that was exciting for a minute. I remember when we were in LA, I think we recorded 2 more songs in the band in that formation, which I have no idea where they are. I don't know. Vagrant probably has them somewhere, but and kind of like feeling like this was awesome. And then things kind of disintegrating. I think we were on tour. I don't think like some people didn't get along with some people. Like, yeah, everyone was, it was just like, yeah, we tried to do it for a minute and then it was just like, yeah.
Did Vagrant catch wind of that prior to that happening? Were they giving you a phone call like, hey, we're kind of concerned?
Yeah, I think there was definitely talks with them. They wanted us to keep the band together. They were fucking pissed. I'm pretty sure that they were pretty pissed, that we broke up because, they invested in us. And, I don't think they were expecting us to like put out a record and tour for a couple months and then split up. I think they were fucking pissed, and rightfully so. I would be too. I mean, if I had a label and that happened, I'd be like, God damn it. We were young. I didn't understand a lot, and we had a lot of things that now wouldn't hold up. I think we were like little pains in the ass a lot of the time just because we didn't know any better.
What do you mean by that?
I remember talking to them being like, I don't want to have merch at shows and I don't want to fucking no shows over $5. And they were just like, dude, fuck you. Like, you have to work with us here. And, me just being like a shit. I don't want her name on anything and I don't want no more interviews and, like shit like that.
God.
Just like, just like real prima donna bullshit. Shit. But in my mind, I was like, no, because we want to be like Fugazi or something. I don't fucking.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. You brought up like Fugazi a lot. You brought up those ethics and
yeah.
How does the band officially break up?
I know me and Will, we were done. I know Jeremy, we really didn't get along anymore. We were all kind of fighting with each other. I remember there was talks. Me and Will were like, well, maybe we'll do it without Jeremy, and maybe we'll like do it with Matt, who was playing guitar. Who, that's a whole other story because he went on to be in like Jared Leto's band and like Blink-182's band for a minute, which is funny.
Wait, who did?
Matt Wachter. Yeah, he played. Yeah, that's another weird story. But he was like the rhythm guitar player when the record had come out for that very end of the band. Then he moved to LA and he was in, I can't remember the name of Jared Leto's band, but he was in his band.
Oh, the Mars, or the fuck that was called, something to Mars.
Yes, something. Yeah. And then he was in the Angels and Airwaves, I think, which is like the alien dude from Blink-182, the guy that plays in the alien stuff. Yeah.
Tom DeLonge.
Yeah.
30 Seconds to Mars is the band.
Yeah, 30 Seconds to Mars. Yeah.
Just so, because you never know, like if I'm listening to a podcast and someone forgets something, I'm always like screaming at them, like, this is the fucking name. Like, God, why don't you know it?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
make sure.
30 Seconds to Mars. Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I saw them open up for Incubus in New Hampshire, like in an arena. It was pretty nuts. But yeah, Matt can't talk. I think there's like stories, but Jared made him sign an NDA, so he can't. I don't think he could talk about stuff, but
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anything happened. I'm just saying if it did, you never know. But
Damn, that's some Hollywood bullshit right there.
yeah, I know. Seriously, I know. It's so weird.
So okay, so I mean that pretty much closes up the whole boxer thing, and I
But
do.
yeah, that was the end. Yeah, that was we were done, and me and Will had already like we were already like we were on to like we didn't know what it was going to be called, but we were like trying to do the Lot Six, and we pretty quickly I think we were already like kind of knew who was going to be in it. A couple of our like just good friends, you know, and we were like yeah, kind of had put that band together really fast and recorded a demo, and that ended up being our first 7-inch. But I remember like Vagrant getting it and was like, you guys are signed to us, we have options on your next band. And we were like, oh shit, oh no. And because I don't know, I maybe we were okay with it, but we were also like taken aback, like, oh well, that's fucking rude, like you don't, what are you talking about? But you know, they did, it was in the contract. But and this is probably another reason why they're pissed too, because they were really stoked. They wanted to put out a record, and they were like, you're under contract. But in the contract, there was like a stipulation where they had to, within 6 months of like delivering our last record, they had to, in writing, say that they're like, you know, they're going to take the option on our next thing. And like, I remember I found that in the contract and like sent that to them. I was like, you know, you don't have a right to any of this. And that was it. I mean, I'm sure they were like, fuck you. And we
Wow.
had already, because that was the thing, Boxer, we had kind of like the label that Lot 6 ended up being on for a while, Espo, which is this dude Shred, who was like a local Boston punk dude who had a label, and he was a DJ on WBCN, like the local DJ. Boxer, before we signed to Vagrant, we kind of had a handshake deal with him, like he was going to put out a record or something. And then Vagrant came along, and I remember we were like, sorry Shred, we're going to do this. And I remember he was pissed. And so I think when we did the Lot 6, I felt like I really had to make that up to him too. And like, I was pissed at Vagrant, you know, I don't know why. I can't even think of why at this point, because they were nothing but like helpful to us. You know, I think I was mad that they tried to pull that. Felt like very like big corporation record company, you know, and I probably wanted something to be mad at.
You're probably mad at them because they put the name of the band on the CD.
Yeah, you know, something so fucking stupid. I mean, so dumb. And, you know, and I felt like I needed to make it up to Shred too. And it was like an opportunity to be like, cool.
So just we don't have to go too much into Lot 6, but I do want to, because I know Casey Iodine Records, he's like, I want to talk, remember in the text
Yeah, we
message.
don't have to talk too much.
Well,
There's
no,
not,
because
yeah.
he was like, I want to know about the Lot 6 or whatever, and we thought he wrote like Red Sox. You're like, I don't really know how to talk about the Red Sox.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
But you guys were in a band. It says you had your first record your first record in 2002, and then the last one's in 2005 as a full length. And these are on Spotify. Yeah, all of this is on Spotify.
Yeah.
And you also have like the Hotspot, which is a single in 2000.
Yeah, that was the first record. When did that say it came out? 2000?
That says 2000. And
Yeah, that would make sense.
okay, so there's 3 songs there. So I mean, like you guys do this run, and so Major Fables that says 2013. Did that come out in 2013?
No, that didn't come out 2013. That's just when they put it on Spotify. They need to change that date. That record came out before the Get Baked on Youth Culture one, but after the Animals one.
Oh, it's not even on Discogs actually.
Huh.
Wait, hold on. Wait, no. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, it is, but it's a different artwork. It's a different cover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like the one on Discogs is like a cat or something.
There's like a slip. It was like one of those like O card slip things slipped over the cover. So there's actually, I guess I got my wish, because the actual cover, when you take the O card off, there's nothing. It's just a picture with no like band name. But then the O card that fits over the thing, which is sometimes the cover, says like the Lot 6 in black with Major Fables. Yeah, which was our first record with Rama and like the Tarantulas, the Explosion guys, which is yeah.
Oh shit, okay. But when you guys are doing this whole run, and I talk about this all the time, the first half, I mean, you're in Boxer, that was the end of the 90s where we don't really see downloading, and then you guys come in when downloading is just on fire. And then also the whole scene just completely flips on its head and just becomes this crazy thing that's not even really a scene anymore. It just becomes like a popularity contest. So like you're competing with that and Napster and downloads. Like, so what's your viewpoint from the Lot 6 experience from that point on?
Huh? As far as like downloading and
Like,
stuff,
did any of that
or
affect you? Like, that just even competing in that new scene, do you feel like you fit anywhere or you didn't have an issue with it? And then like music's getting downloaded, so that's affecting you financially
I
potentially.
mean, yeah, no, not affecting us financially because no, I mean, we weren't really selling enough records to make money like that, ever. So none of that stuff. I'm always like, give it away. When that stuff was going on, I was like, give it away. Just give, like, if people want it, that's cool. Like, give it to them for free, whatever. They're going to take it, or, I was always for that. And it's like, we're not making money selling records anyway. So
How about fitting in with that new dynamic of the scene around you? Like, how did you guys view that when you were on the road or touring or playing shows?
I don't really remember it really like affecting us a whole lot. I don't remember like, I mean, we always like had like, we had records at shows and we would sell records at shows. And I think we'd sell records at like locally, at record stores or maybe some smaller record stores around the country and stuff like that. I don't ever remember like downloading or stuff like that becoming ever like really affecting us or, yeah, ever having any big impact.
Well, how are you guys balancing the band? Because I mean, it's set. So basically, you're together for what, 3, 4 years?
Lot six?
Yeah.
Lot six? Probably more than that. Like, I'm trying to think. Maybe like 7 or 8, 7 years, maybe.
How does this band last longer than Boxer? Like, why does this band last longer than Boxer?
I think I don't know. We had the people that were in the band. It was everything was a five-way split. We all like as far as songwriting, it was like total collaboration between all of us. I think that's how me and Will wanted it too. And we had really gotten with like like friends that we'd built some like deep relationships in Boston with, and finally kind of had found our kind of little group. And so I think that's why that band stuck together.
Were you balancing it with touring and working, where you kind of found this nice life balance of, oh, there's less pressure on this than there was in the first round?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we did. There was a good where we toured and then we would come home and work and tour and work and make records. That we had a good balance there for a while, for sure. Until like kind of the very end when we really like went hard for 2 years and toured and toured and toured and toured. And then like kind of at the end of that, you don't kind of get to where you exactly wanted to go. So you kind of go back into like, all right, well, I need to reset here for a minute, have an apartment again, and start working a normal job.
What fire was set under your ass to do go hard those last 2 years?
Um, I don't know. I think that we just, it was weird. So Lot 6, we had done like those records with the local dude, Espo, and then we randomly got, so Kevin, who was from Vagrant, he ended up working at Warner Brothers. And Lot 6, we got an offer from Warner Brothers for like a 5 record deal, like a bunch of money. And we ended up we didn't want it. We ended up not doing it, and for a bunch of different reasons. And then that's when we went to Tarantulas and did the Major Fables thing, and just kind of really went hard then because we were just wanted to do it on our own in our own way, and they were on that same like wavelength, and it was just like time to go all in. And we toured and got a booking agent and put out another record, and we're getting bigger tours and doing all that stuff. But then it's just like the money, it's not there. It's really hard to like actually make a living doing that. I mean, it kind of like perpetuated itself for long enough, but it was like we had to like give up apartments and shit. It was like we didn't have anything to come home to for a while. So it was like, let's just stay on the road. But it's like once that went, you have to come home at some point, and if you don't have anywhere to go, you're like, well. But yeah, I think it was just like the fire was, yo, let's just really try to do this. Like, fuck this, let's go. And like we did a bunch of awesome shows. I mean, dreams came true for sure. Like saw a bunch of awesome places and met a million cool people and really just went hard. It didn't work out the way we saw it then, but I think, it did all work out for the best.
The Tarantulas Records that's the Explosions record label?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
In 2005, it says Black Tape comes out, and that was the last record that they did. That's when everyone was like, "Oh my God, the Explosion's going to be gigantic." They just released this album. Then they break up, and I think Rama was telling me, I just did an interview that's coming out this week. It's with Brian from Saves the Day, and we're talking about how this one band, I forget, I just listened to this yesterday. I was editing. There's one band they signed. Oh no, Saves the Day. Yeah, Saves the Day signs. They were in Reverie. DreamWorks collapses, and all of them walked away with like hundreds of thousands of dollars each that they didn't have to pay back. And I think Rama was the one who told me that like the Explosion had the same thing happen because I think it was they were on like yeah they were on like Virgin or something, and they dropped them, and they were just like, okay, but we get to keep the money, and they didn't have to give the money back or something like that. But I mean, like, I just remember that. I mean, it's crazy. Hey, that's amazing.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so fucking
That's
awesome.
so fucking awesome.
But like when Black Tape comes out and you guys are in this 2-year run, is this towards the? I guess the thing I'm trying to splice together here is when that record comes out, you're on that label, and how does that affect you guys as a band?
It was good. I mean, honestly, they were, because I think we were kind of the Lot 6 at a point where we had turned down the major label thing. And I think we kind of were talking to a couple labels. And we ended up going with Tarantulas because, we had known them. I mean, they were like our buds from back in the day that all of a sudden had all this money, to do a label. And they were like, we were like weirdos. We didn't really fit with them at all, but they were like, yo, let's do this. Because that record was actually demos. That was going to be demos for the record, but they were like, these are great. Let's have who should mix them? And we were like, can we get the guy from the Pixie, like the guy who mixed the Pixie stuff? And they were like, all right, cool. So they had him mix the record. So that was huge. And I remember they were like, who do you want to get for artwork? Like, think of like your craziest dream. And like, we ended up going with like a friend of ours, but it was just like stuff like that. And they were like, they helped us like we toured with the Distillers. We toured like with that, like opened up with them, and like a bunch of opportunities opened up because of those guys. By the end, I think we did that whole thing with them, and like the band broke up, and we still did one more record with a label in New York, this label Plastic Records, which was just this weirdo dude, Steve Lowenthal, who was like a noise record weirdo dude, but loved the Lot 6 for some reason. We did a 12-inch like EP thing. I don't even know. They like pressed a couple hundred copies, and then Lot 6 broke up, and I think they were pissed at us too, because then we put everything online for free, and of course they were like, what the fuck? And like I'm like, yeah, I've had a tendency to do that. It's like a bad thing. But anyway, I mean, yeah, those guys, I think if Tarantulas would have stayed together and still been a label, we probably would have still made records with them.
What's the story behind the video you guys did for I Get So Down?
For what video?
I Get So Down?
Oh, we made that at Rama's house. Like, so we would like go out to LA. We would tour, and like we would just live at his house, which was like Tarantulas. They had an office that they split with the Hydra Head guys in LA, but also like just everyone stayed at Rama's house. So we lived there. He had this awesome house, and yeah, I think we just shot that there. And it's just like a lot of just on random, like maybe not video shit on phones yet, but we had some weird cameras and stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure all that was because, yeah, we would stay out there for like a month in between tours or whatever and just wait for the next tour to start because we couldn't drive all the way back to Boston. So it just makes sense to like live out there.
It's kind of weird and voyeuristic in a way, but because Rama talks about that house, and then Jeremy talked about that house, and I'm sure they have photos and stuff, but like if you watch the video, you get to be like, oh, that's what the kitchen looked like at that house.
That's the house.
And there's their cat.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, Jude. Yeah, the cat. They had like it was awesome. The garage. It was like a projector room. All like just they had like the couches stacked up all funny, and just to make it like it was awesome. I had to have like a quarter pipe in the driveway, and you're in LA and you're just like, oh, it was awesome. It was so cool. It was so fun. I have nothing but like fond memories of and people always stopping by, and and we would be there. We would be working on stuff too, like artwork. That's where I met Tim Presley, who does a band called White Fence now, and he's amazing. He's did artwork for us stuff, but like so many connections were made at that house, and just like Jeremy and Claire, whoever, like rolling through and people hanging out. It was just like totally nuts and amazing.
You know that Jeremy and Claire have the Day 19. They're still doing photography.
Yeah, it's incredible. I love it.
Yeah, they're like really successful. They travel around and stuff.
I know. I love that. I love that. That makes me so stoked. I mean, all the people that from that time, there's so many that have like gone on to do some really crazy shit. Like, I mean, some really amazing stuff. And it's awesome. I feel like, it was cool to be it's cool to be in the same room as people like that, being like creative and just really, you know, watching them come from nothing and building it themselves and doing it. It's like, it's really, really cool.
Yeah, like a lot of people I talk to, they'll they'll talk about, you know, the days of the band or the record label and stuff, and then it's wild to see them now and all the shit that they're doing that's working out where it's that punk rock like thing stays with them, but it's this whole, it's not a record label, but it's something else, but it's almost like they kind of, it's like the thing that they wanted from that or the thing they wanted from the band is happening in a completely different area.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. I love that.
Well, cool, man. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up, but
Oh yeah, this is so fun. Thank you so much. I'm like,
I had a fucking blast. Like I like went to the bathroom. I was like, I'm having so
good.
much fucking fun right now.
I hope so. I hope you got good stuff. I know I can be kind of a spaz. I'm
No,
like,
this is.
but I felt that was really fun.
And actually, before I ask the last two questions, is there any story from back then in either band that was like just, I don't know, funny or wild or whatever you want to tell that you've never got a chance to tell before and you want to tell it now?
Oh, I mean, oh, there's a lot of good ones. I don't know why this one pops into my mind, but I don't know. We were staying with, this was in Boxer, and we were in, I think I'm in Indiana right now with my partner and her family in Indianapolis, which is, so this is kind of funny. It made me think of this, but Boxer, we were staying with at the drive-in. We, on those shows, that little run of shows, we just stayed with whoever the promoter was. I don't know. I remember someone, like, I don't know if it was someone from their band or like putting on some like a crazy, like, you know, like shit porn or something really, really, really bad, like where, and like, you know, kind of like, oh, this is like fine. You know, this is like pre-internet really stuff. So it's like, that's how you saw crazy shit. Someone would be like, I got this weird VHS of like, you know, but yeah. And like, I remember people like running out and like throwing up in the yard and it being like, yeah, pretty disturbing and just not, and yeah. It's kind of funny. That's like such a weird, you think of those guys and they're like, I remember them being like pretty serious back then too, but also being like, you know, everyone's weird and funny and it was stupid. And I don't know why that popped into my head, but maybe I should think of something better.
That's perfect. Wait, this was from the guys from At the Drive-In who put this on?
Yeah, like I don't know, like I'm not gonna put it on them, but like it might have been the person who we were staying with. I know it wasn't us. Like we didn't care, didn't have the tape around, but it was one of those things where like there's like crazy, this disgusting, like it's so disgusting, you have to see it kind of thing. And like someone putting it in and like people like half the people laughing, half the people like running outside to throw up. So yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
No, it wasn't Two Girls, One Cup, right?
No.
Okay, that was
But
later
it was
on.
like that, but before that. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
God.
Mhm.
I always felt like promoters or people, the houses you stayed at were such a gamble of if it was going to be great or a fucking nightmare.
I'm sure you have stories of like staying in. Yeah, there's so many I mean, I remember getting like a gun pulled on us. Like,
Wait, really?
I don't. Yeah, like a dude. I remember we were just like supposed to go stay there, and like the guy opened up the front door, and the dude, his like roommate or whatever, I guess, was like on the couch and like he has like a gun. He picks up his like a rifle and then he just kicked the door shut. Like, and we were just like, okay. And I remember we're like, well, I guess we're not staying there. And we just like, you know, go slept in the van or whatever. But
Oh my God.
that was scary. Yeah, a lot of oh man, like you learn a lot. You learn a lot when you know you go on tour and then you figure out like where to stay and where not to stay, and hopefully you make good friends along the way. I remember being really excited like after touring for a while was like we usually had somewhere to stay, you know, where we were playing with people that we'd met there before. So it was like, oh man, I can't wait to get to like Kim and Bob's house, and it's so like nice there, and they got an extra room for us.
Oh
you know,
yeah.
instead of the random like, you know, redneck who might kill you or like a cockroach is gonna like be in your mouth or like, you know, I don't know.
Well, it's funny you said that. I just went to Avail, just played down here in North Carolina at Cat's Cradle a couple months ago, and I've never seen them. And my friend Amber Payne from Chicago, she was one of those people that she was like, hey, do you guys need a place to stay? We're on tour. So we stayed with her and we've been friends ever since then. And she hits me up like, we're going to go to the Avail show. Do you want to go? And I said, yeah. So she bought my ticket for me. That's like 20 something years later. So you still have those connections with people. Or like you said, those randoms that when it's almost like when someone ran up to you too fast at the end, like you could stay with me. You're kind of like,
Yeah.
Why are you so excited about this? Like, what are we gonna see when we get to your place?
I know.
All right, man. Well, all right. So two questions. One before I ask the last one. What would you like to plug? It could be about you. It could be about a friend. It could be about both.
I really wanted to plug the Kentucky Health Justice Network.org. That's their website. You can make donations there. Or because I'm living here in Richmond, Virginia now, I wanted to plug the Richmond Reproductive Freedom Project, grassroots volunteer organization. You can donate at 888-847-1593 or at their website, rrfp.net. And as far as my music stuff, if anyone out there wants to listen to what I'm doing now, you can go to beatawfuls.bandcamp.com, beatawfuls.bandcamp.com, or my Instagram is at beatawfuls, beatawfuls. So yeah, you can listen to my stuff there. Check it out. Fuck Spotify, fuck Apple, fuck Tidal, any of those streaming places that continue to rip off musicians and artists. Fuck them.
All right, man. Last thing. What scene ethics do you hold on to this day?
Honestly, I don't know. The first thing that pops into my head is like, I remember learning back in the day, just taking care of people at shows, taking care of women at shows, taking care of each other, like people looking out for each other. Like that is something that obviously still carry with me today, is that overall vibe of people, and just like, yeah, just humans taking care of each other. I remember that was like something I learned early on going to punk shows. I learned a lot from that, from those things, from those shows, from people, from, early punk stuff. And I definitely carry that stuff with me today.